Hello everyone, welcome to A Clear Perspective. I'm Serene. Ever since Biden's inauguration on January 20th, there has always been doubt on whether he can hold his presidency. His secluded daily life and awkward public appearances have made people wonder why this president, who supposedly received the most votes in U.S. history, is so different from past presidents. Now, with the passage of time, political circles and the public have expressed their discontent and doubts. What's worse, he is likely to face his first power crisis since his inauguration. Vice President Harris seems rather blatant about asserting herself. On March 9th, Harris again overstepped her authority and spoke with Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg over the phone to discuss relations between the two countries. Although Harris' conversation may have been ordinary, this action is not. Normally, the new president should personally talk to other national leaders. It is very rare for the vice president to do this job on his behalf, unless the president has very particular reasons for not being able to talk. But this is strange. We see that Biden is currently moving about with no serious health problems. If that's the case, why is Harris doing the president's job? Back in early February, Harris took Biden's place in speaking with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They talked about fighting the pandemic and climate change. On February 15th, Harris spoke with French President Macron. Notably, the White House said in a subsequent statement that Harris expressed her commitment to strengthening bilateral ties between the United States and France and to revitalizing the transatlantic alliance. The statement didn't mention President Biden at all. Since then, Harris has been on a roll. She spoke directly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. If we include the call with the Norwegian Prime Minister, Harris has already fulfilled the president's role at least 5 times. We don't know if Biden had prior knowledge of Harris' actions, but it is likely that Biden was upset. On February 25th, just over a month after taking office, Biden ordered airstrikes against pro-Iranian militia forces in Syria. Biden did not notify Harris in advance. Admittedly, there is no hard rule that requires the president to notify the vice president when he authorizes the launch of a military operation. However, as partners who teamed up to run for election, Biden's move clearly didn't take Harris into account. Harris was reportedly very upset. Perhaps we can assume this is why Harris has been continuously having phone conversations with foreign leaders as the acting president. She's trying to be a part-time president. Of course, from Biden's point of view, this may be too much. Now, the drama at White House reminds us of the TV series House of Cards. Another reason why Harris is so blunt with her ambitions and aggressiveness is because of Biden's health. Biden's mental and intellectual state have deteriorated to an extent that's difficult to conceal from the public. Wednesday was Biden's 50th day in office. He has not held a press conference yet, making him the first president in the last 100 years to not do so within 50 days. Biden's 15 most recent predecessors all held a formal press conference within 33 days of taking office. So why hasn't Biden held a press conference? The reason is very simple. As of right now, he does not have the ability to answer the reporters' questions alone. On March 3rd, Biden held a video conference with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats. After Biden finished his speech to the Democratic lawmakers, he said, "I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do." The live feed was cut off right after he finished the sentence. 2 days later, Biden participated in a roundtable on the American Rescue Plan. It only lasted around 10 minutes because he wasn't in good shape and could not finish the entire meeting. After finishing his script, he said that it was time to answer questions. But once again, the live feed was immediately cut off. It appears that Biden wanted to continue even after finishing his script, but his White House handlers apparently did not trust him. They would rather cut off the live feed and take criticism rather than let Biden embarrass himself. But the problem that Biden has to deal with is far from just answering people's questions. He had a hard time remembering his opponent Trump's name or his spouse Obama's name, and he even publicly asked himself the ultimate question of mankind: where am I? How can such a person be expected to lead the United States against the CCP? In fact, there have already been people questioning Biden's competence. In an interview with Fox News, Republican Representative Matt Gaetz said, "You have to wonder whether the transition to Harris has already begun." What's interesting is that it's not just Republicans who are raising concerns. Dick Morris, former advisor to Bill Clinton, recently said in a Newsmax program that there are two signals of the possibility of the Democrats moving to invoke the 25th Amendment to oust him from office. The first is that 4 Republican senators have proposed a bill to remove Biden of his war-making authority. The second is that 30 Democrats wrote a letter to Biden requesting that he hand over his sole authority of the nuclear codes. It seems that members of both parties lack confidence in Biden's ability to act as president, which is an unprecedented phenomenon in American history. There are 2 things that could have caused this. First, this was the choice of the American people. Or second, the election system has been compromised. I think we can safely assume that it's the second one. Biden's cognitive degradation isn't exactly new, as he already showed symptoms during the Democrats' primary election, public speeches, and interviews. But the Democratic Party needed him to stabilize the moderate left and the swing voters. Therefore, radical left candidates like Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris were voted out. From this perspective, Biden is just a puppet for Harris. Now we see that there is the possibility of Harris becoming the president without an election. However, it is too early to say whether Biden will comply. Under the 25th Amendment, if Biden resigns or he submits a written declaration stating that he is unable to discharge the powers and the duties of his office, Harris could become the president or acting president. But the title and the fame that comes with being president is really attractive. If Biden is not willing to let go, the vice president and the Congress will have to start the impeachment process, which will be very complicated. If this is something that really happens, we will see Nancy Pelosi attempt to remove the president for the 3rd time. Okay, let's talk about a topic that might be new to our viewers: the relationship between the Chinese Communist Party and China. This has been discussed by scholars for many years, and many people have realized that ever since the CCP took power in China, it has systematically replaced the meaning of patriotism to mean loyalty to the party. For the first time, a CCP official publicly stated this during an interview. On March 9th, a media reporter asked Song Ruan, the Deputy Commissioner of the Chinese Foreign Ministry in Hong Kong, whether the CCP's official definition of patriotism in Hong Kong means loyalty to the Communist Party. Song replied, "When we talk about patriotism, we do not mean the love for the culture and the history of China. It means the love for the current China under the leadership of the Communist Party." He then emphasized again, patriots must respect the Chinese Communist Party. This answer is very enlightening. The CCP has been running a huge propaganda machine ever since it started ruling China. It has used a large number of so-called experts, scholars, celebrities, and influential figures on social media as tools to continuously confuse the concepts of the CCP and China. It has achieved the effect of brainwashing the majority of the Chinese population. It goes without saying that the CCP's propaganda has repeatedly politicized patriotism and nationalism and turned people's national sentiment into loyalty for the party. Even some of the anti-communist dissidents are confused by these terms. They think that opposing the CCP is the same as denouncing Chinese traditions and its history of 5 millennia. People also mistakenly think that the communist regime is the same as the traditional imperial system of ancient China, and automatically assumes CCP's legitimacy. This is the trap created by the Communist Party. Therefore, Song's answer makes this very clear. First of all, he makes a clear distinction between the two different concepts of China. One is the traditional culture and the history of China, and the other is the People's Republic of China led by the CCP. It's the traditional culture and history that attracts countless tourists from all around the world. The culture is inspired by mythology and filled with ancient wisdom, traditional arts, legends, and much more. It was also known as the land of the divine. The Communist China specifically refers to China after 1949. It is ruled by the communist regime and is heavily influenced by communism, or what is known as party culture. The CCP requires people to love the communist and reject the traditional culture of China. So we can see that Song actually has a clear understanding of this difference. In addition, Song has revealed something that the CCP has tried to suppress for many years. Namely, traditional Chinese culture cannot coexist with the party culture that was forced upon the people by the Communist Party. Therefore, one cannot support traditional Chinese culture and also be a patriot by the Communist Party's standard. Rather, the CCP forces everyone to only support the communist regime. Whatever the case, Song has admitted that the establishment of the CCP has put an end to the cultural rich pre-communist China. It is no secret that the CCP forced the Cultural Revolution in order to eliminate the essence of traditional Chinese culture. In fact, communism is fundamentally against China's tradition. It's a foreign ideology forced upon the Chinese people. With Song's statements, it can be assumed that the majority of the CCP understands the difference between these two concepts. They know very well that the traditional Chinese culture is the mortal enemy of the party. But they also know the difference between the two must never be mentioned. Instead, they spread propaganda claiming that anyone against the party is the traitor against China. If Song didn't accidentally let it slip, who knows how long they could have kept up the guise. A few short remarks from Song make the CCP's 70 years of deception go down the drain. Isn't this a perfect example of man proposes, God disposes? Lastly, we would like to remind our viewers again that our platform may be restricted on social media. We would like to recommend the YouMaker platform to everyone. It has earned our trust and respect, as it provides a safe, convenient platform and a fair opportunity for us to report unbiased news. Our videos are available on YouMaker. Please subscribe and we hope to see you there. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.